Hello everybody, this is Professor West, and today I will be walking you through using the MIT AppInventor to create the Magic8Ball program. This one is a lot of fun and it's pretty simple to do. So, first things first, go to appinventor.mit.edu. You will need to sign in. You can use any Google email address. If you are part of a school and your school uses Google for their email address, that can work. And once you're signed in, you'll see a page like I'm on right now. You can go to Create Apps, and you will see a list of apps that you've already created, and possibly one that you're working on. And I'm just going to go to Projects, Start a New Project. If you see the little window come up here, you can name it. I'm going to call mine Magic 8-Ball 3 because I've already got a couple of them. Alright, let me adjust the screen somewhat here. Make it a little easier to see the important stuff. Okay, so right off the bat, this is your development window. You're in designer mode right now. And over here you see where it says user interface, and you've got buttons and checkboxes and all this stuff. This is a pretty neat little program that they came up with. If you scroll down a little bit, you have layout, media, drawing, animation, maps. Each of these have their own set of tools inside of them that you can use to put on your app. And I'm going to go back to user interface. I'm going to start by putting a button just right here. All I had to do was click on it and drag it right onto my screen here. Now on the right hand side over here, first you have the components window. This lists the screen, which is the entire screen, and then indented is each item that is directly on the screen. So right now I have just the one button, which it named button 1. And if I'm on the screen, you can see the properties of the screen. If I click on button, you can see all the properties of that button. Same thing goes if I click over here. I can click on the screen or I can click on the button. So right off the bat, the first thing I'm going to want to do is scroll down, make sure I'm clicked on the button, scroll down to where it says text. This is the text that shows up on the button. See how it says text for button 1 there and it says text for button 1 here? I'm just going to highlight that and delete it all because I don't want any text on my button. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go to Image. Image allows me to put a picture onto this button. So let me scroll up a little bit. Right now I have no images in this project. I'm going to click Upload File, and then I'm going to come over here to this window and I'm going to click Choose File. This comes up with a whole lot of different places or different pictures and stuff that I've saved on the computer, and you can navigate, of course, to wherever you want to go. I'm going to choose the Magic8Ball image because that's what I'm wanting. When I do, I'm going to click the Open button down here, and now you can see that it has selected the Magic8Ball JPG. I'm going to click OK. It doesn't have to be a JPG, by the way. It could be a PNG. It could be a number of different types. Pretty much anything you could use in an app. And now you see here I have one giant Magic8Ball sitting here. This is now my button instead of the little gray button that was there. I put this picture over it. I can come over here, still got this button clicked. I can come over here to where it says height, and I can tell it to fill the parent, which the parent is the screen. If I tell it to do that, then it's going to go all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom because I'm talking about the height. I could tell it a certain number of pixels. If I were to tell it 150 pixels, for example, then it would be all smushed up at the top. That's not really what I want, though. I think I'm going to stick with around 250. And you could have also chosen a %. I'm going to come down to the next window where it says width, and I'm going to do the same thing. Since I got a square image, might as well make them both the exact same. 250, and you know, I think I actually might want that a little bit bigger. Let's go 300. See how that looks. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Alright. Now, let's say I wanted to add some sound. When you click that button, I want some sound to happen. So I'm going to come over to the media section over here in my tools over here on the left, and I'm going to click that, and I'm going to open up the media window, and I'm going to grab this player, and I'm going to drag it right onto the screen down here. Now notice it didn't show up on the screen. Let me scroll. I can't really scroll there. It's actually below the picture of the camera, or the picture of the phone, because it's something that's not going to appear on the screen. So there's no point for it to show up on the screen. So now that I have that done, I'm going to click on it, make sure that it's clicked, and I'm going to come over here to where it says source in the properties, and I'm just going to upload a sound file that I want to use. And this could be any sound file. Of the ones that I downloaded, I'm going to use this little clinking teaspoon one. So it's just going to go ping ping. Now notice it's there. Alright, and I've got it set up. So right now I've told it what I'm going to do, but I have not told it to do anything. So the next thing I'm going to need to do is come over here at the very top right of this window and see how designer is blocked out because I'm in designer mode. So blocks gives me the ability to go in and actually start adding code and functionality to my little app here. I'm going to click on blocks, and this is the design window. Over here on the left I have a bunch of different built-ins. There's control, logic, math, text, lists, variables, procedures, a lot of different things. And I'm going to start by choosing, these are the two that I put on there, the button and the player. I'm going to click on the button, and here's a whole bunch of tools and commands that I can use with that button. So I'm just going to grab this top one where it says when button one.click, because what I want to do is everything that I put in here is going to happen whenever button one is clicked. So for now I'm going to click on the player, and I'm just going to tell it call player1.start. I'm going to drag it right up into this, and if I had more things I could drag them in, and it would just keep expanding down, let me drag more in. So what happens right now is if I was to run this program, when I click on the button, this sound would play. And I'm not going to do that right now because I've actually got a few other things I want to do instead. I just wanted to show you that this is possible. So let's go back into our designer. Designer lets me add more stuff to my screen. So the very first thing that I want to add now is I want to go to the layout over here on the left. It's this one right under the user interface, and it gives me some different layouts. I want to click the vertical arrangement layout. I'm going to drag it right over here, and I'm going to put it right beneath that 8-ball. And see how it has this whole little window down here now? This is going to let me put things together in this arrangement, and it's going to group them together. So the next thing I want to do is I want to go to user interface, and I want to add a label. And I'm just going to click on it and drag it right in there. Notice how the blue bar lets me know where I'm going to drag it. If I dropped it right here, it would go over here below the blue bar. I don't want it to do that. I want it to go into this little window that I put up here, this little vertical arrangement window. And did you see what happened? The vertical arrangement window shrunk to fit what's already in there. That's okay. Don't worry about that. We're going to add another label right beneath it. And see how the blue line goes right below it, but it's still in the box, and it just automatically expands and puts it in there. So that's no problem. Now we need to change both of these labels. So I'm going to click on this first one, and I'm going to come over here in the properties, and I'm going to tell it something different than what it says now. I'm going to say ask Magic8Ball a question. Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. And it put it right here for me. I don't like the way that looks though. That's not big enough. So I want to change this. I'm going to go to, let's go to 22. Why not? You know, maybe just a little bit bigger. I'm going to go to 24. I think that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to go into the second one. Just click on the label and go right over here into the text. And I'm going to change that. And I'm going to say, click the 8-ball for now. That'll change later. And I'm going to go up to the font size, and I'm just going to tell it, let's be 24 also. So I got two big things here. Now I'm going to drag this button. I'm going to click on it, and I'm just going to drag it right down, and I'm going to put it between these two because I want it to be in my arrangement also. So notice you can still see the blue bar. You can see where it's going to go. Now it moved down into there, and now it's going to be right between them. And when it did, since this is above it, it went right to the top, and now the button's next, and then the 8-ball's after that. So next thing I want to do, I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to tell it alignment. All the way down here under the text, I'm going to click on that. I'm going to choose center. And that's going to make it in the center. You didn't really notice much, but this one will be more noticeable when I do click on the 8-ball and I'm center it. Not centered it in my thing instead of in my window. So I can click on vertical arrangement, and I'm going to tell it to align there we go. So now I've got it set up so it's going to tell me to ask a question, and when I click on the button here, my answer is going to display down here. So let's go back into the blocks part and add that functionality to what we've already got. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this sound because I don't really need it. I only put it there to show you that you could do that. And I'm going to go in. I'm going to move over here to the label. Now label 2, that's the bottom one. That's the one that I want to change. So I'm going to click on it. And I'm going to find one that says set label to background. Why not? Background color. And I'm just going to drag it over here. And I'm going to put it right in here. And then I'm going to come over here, and this little drop down menu is going to come up and let me know all the different things I could change instead of background. I'm going to change the text. So let's go ahead and put that on text. So now it says set label to text. So when somebody clicks a button, I'm going to set the text. That's all I'm doing there. So the next thing I want to do is I want to say what it's going to be. To do so, I'm going to go into the lists. That's right over here under in the blocks. It's under the built-in, and I'm going to go down to lists. And if you come down to pick a random list, where did you go? Pick a random list. So I'm telling it now that I'm going to have a list. This isn't my list. This is just telling it that I'm going to have a list. And then I'm going to go back over here to lists, and I'm going to tell it to make a list. Alright, so now when I click the button, the label is going to be set to, it's going to randomly pick something from my list. And that's what it's going to set the label to. So the first thing I want to do, because this is Magic 8-Ball, they have more than just 2 questions, is I'm going to point to this little gear icon here. It's going to bring up this extra little window. And notice that there's 2 items here right now, and there's 2 spots here for me to put things. So I'm going to grab this item over here. This is just for me to add more, and I'm going to put it here. And notice the third one's here now, and there's a third one here. I'm just going to keep doing that until I get how many I want. 5, 6, 7, 8. That should be plenty. Okay, so now I have 8 options here for the 8-ball to choose. Now I need to put something in each one. So let's come over here to the text and click on it. There's a lot of other things I can do here, but I'm going to pick this very top one. This is blank text box. And I'm just going to click on it. And then I'm going to drag it over here, and I'm going to put it right there. And we'll fix that in just a minute. But first, I'm going to right click. I could go back to text and drag another one over here. And then put it in second. And I could just keep going over and back and over and back. Or I can right click on one of these and hit duplicate. And now it's right here by me. And I can do that again. And that saves me a little bit of time and effort. Especially if you're having trouble finding it. Some of them are a little harder to find. This one's right on top, so it wasn't too difficult. But you'll see later that this can really help. Especially, I mean, I could duplicate this entire thing if I wanted. So, now I'm going to click into this first text box. And I'm going to say something like, it is certain. So one of the options when I click my 8-ball is that it'll come up, it'll read this, it'll randomly select the first item and from my list and say it is certain, and then that's what would display. And now let's do a couple more without a doubt. As I see it, yes. Magic 8-balls are always vague. Ask again later. That's the one I got anytime I asked it something really good. Reply hazy. Try again. Don't count on it. My sources say no. And I want that capitalized with exclamation points. And last but not least, Outlook, not so good. So, when I click the button, now, the label is going to randomly select an item from this list, and if it selects the third item, then this one here is what's going to display. If it selects the fifth item, this is what's going to display. And it's just going to do it every single time I click this button. So let's go back into the designer. And one thing about the MIT AppInventor is you cannot test it this way. If you want to test it, you either have to connect it to your phone or you can start an emulator. And they have an emulator set up. In order to use that, that's what I'm going to have to do. It installs a little program on your desktop, and then that little program will connect to this. And I will show you that in just a second. Let me get that going. Okay, I started the program on the screen. Let me go up here and do connect. I hope this works. Earlier it wasn't working exactly right. It takes it a minute or two to load, so I'm going to pause this recording so you don't. Okay, my little emulator window has popped up. Now it's going through and it's connecting it properly, so it's checking everything. This process takes it just a minute or two. And I'm going to pause again until it's finished. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Now you'll notice my screen looks exactly like my 8-ball over here. My designer screen. Anything that I change here is automatically changed here. So let me click on this and let me just decide to abbreviate. Oh wait, let me go into the text window for it over here. And let me decide, maybe I don't want to say the word question, maybe I want to make it a little smaller. As soon as I click out, my window automatically already changed. Normally I have this beside it, but because of the way I'm recording the screen, it has to be on top. So, what we're doing now is we're going to test it. When you hit this button here, this part down here should change. Don't count on it. So you ask it a question. Magic 8-ball, am I going to win my soccer game today? Oh, don't count on it. Am I going to catch a big fish? Ask again later. Am I going to ride a bicycle? Outlook not so good. Whatever you're going to do. And that's the whole point of the program. So this is automatically saved in my projects, but you can always package it so that you can let your friends play with it, which that'll be in a whole different tutorial. And I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to stop now.